Yeah, you might want to do.
The past haunts us all. Whether it be a person, place, or thing, we are reluctant to let go. We call to the dead out of desperation and intrigue, searching for answers about what lies behind the shadows. We are paranormal researchers. We are Necromancers. Hello, welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. I am your host, Justin Brown, and I present to you guys episode 51 with Holly Mullins. And before we bring her on, we are going to say what's up to our chat moderators and co-hosts for tonight. So, what's going on, Derek and Jessica?
Hello. It's like we're trying to, who's gonna say
exactly
first?
No one wants to go. No one wants to go first. That's
well,
that's
I don't
funny.
want to be rude. I don't like talking over people, but I'm good, Justin. So
Okay,
I'm ready.
That's great. For future shows, Jess always goes first.
Okay.
That's
But
right.
I'm excited about this show.
Why is that?
Holly?
Why are you excited?
Because it's Holly.
Oh, no. Can't she live
It's
up to
the
the hype?
Holly. Oh, I think she's way above the hype.
Oh, okay. Now I'm intrigued. So, Derek, how's it going on? How's it going on over there in Indiana?
Fantastic.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's warm. It's warming up. The sun ain't been out still. It's nasty outside. I can't mow my grass. It's driving me nuts.
Me and Christy's dad started doing some today. And I'll tell you what, it got high.
Oh yeah,
Grass
mine's
is
pretty high. So it's like my OCD's kicking in.
All right. Well, hopefully you get to mow it sometime this year.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a very, very cool person joining us tonight. We are not a stranger to Holly. We have been in the same similar paranormal circles. She's been a good friend to Josh Bender for a very long time, and we are now going to get to know her even more on this show and see what she's all about and how she, engages the paranormal community. So without further ado, Holly, what is going on tonight with Holly?
Hey, everybody. First of all, Jess, I love you. Thank you so much for that.
Oh,
That was
love you
very-
too.
Oh, I'm so excited to be on your show, Justin. I think you are doing awesome. You all are doing awesome with the show, and we haven't got to officially meet, but I always like to pop in and make inappropriate comments. So, I mean, that's always nice.
Yeah, thanks for trolling my live streams. Appreciate it.
You're welcome anytime. I will be your paranormal stalker.
You are always welcome. So, Holly, we're going to let the viewers know about you. We're going to start off with, the serious Holly. I want to know where your roots are. Of course, you're in Virginia. I want you to talk about where you're from. I want you to talk about how you started to learn that you had these gifts that you have and these abilities that you have, how people were receptive or not receptive to them, as your bio suggests. And then I want you to take us on this journey to present day Holly. So let's start in the beginning.
Okay, so yeah, and it's funny that you said the serious side of me, because when people see the serious side of me, I think it throws them off a little bit, because I love to have fun and I love to make people laugh and just let loose and enjoy life. But there is a big serious side of me, and I'm very passionate about the metaphysical / paranormal field, which all bleeds in together nowadays. But my journey is here in the Appalachian Mountains in Southwest Virginia, a little town called Pound. How I found out I had abilities. I'm an intuitive healer, also known as a granny woman. I actually started having personal experiences as early as 16 years old. I started having out-of-body experiences. And for you guys who don't understand what them are, that is astral projection. That is when we're traveling outside of our physical bodies. So there's many terms for it, but it's the same thing. So I heard all kinds of different terms: dream walker, astral traveler. It's all part of out-of-body experiences. So that's how it started, but I had no idea what that first experience was going to lead me into. I was under the assumption that not everybody had these special abilities and gifts, that it was only handed down through families or through the bloodline. And now I know way different after years and years and years of going through this and my personal experience and learning on my own and letting spirit guide me. I'm a very natural person. I let spirit guide me. I'm not one to, read a book and determine what I believe. And I think that's why I feel so different about things, and why it's been kind of a controversy, because I am in the Bible Belt and I was raised Baptist. I don't really care what people think about me. And I guess that's what throws people off too, because I can walk in a room and hold my head up high, because I believe that everybody has their different belief systems, and that's okay. But mine just happens to be spirituality, where I don't cling to a religion, more natural, whatever spirit gives me. So everything that I've learned along the way, I owe it all to spirit or God or whatever you want to call it. Again, different terms, same thing. It's a higher source, higher power. So yeah, I grew up Baptist in the church. I sung in the choir. You know,
I'd love to hear that.
but I did. I remember my experience when I was 16. I had no idea what it was. I honestly thought that I had my first encounter with a spirit because I woke up and I heard myself snoring and I saw this big bright light above my head. And I quickly turned over and was like, holy shit, you know, this is not happening. You know, I just really put it in the back of my mind. And when I was 18 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard music playing. And anybody who's clairaudient will understand this because sometimes we hear noises, we hear sounds, we hear people talking, especially when you first start to open up. Well, little do I know, because after that experience, it was kind of like subtle, like nothing ever happened after that. I woke up hearing, y'all gonna laugh at me, but I heard Rascal Flatts, I'm moving on, and I don't even like country. And at that time, I'm up, I'm moving around, looking through the house because it's 2:00 in the morning, trying to figure out where this music's coming from. A lot of you guys who understand know, even in the paranormal field, that spirits sometimes communicate with us through music. So sometimes when we hear a song, it can be their way of trying to communicate. And till this day, I have no clue what that was, but I can tell you that it was definitely one of my experiences because there was no music coming from anywhere. Actually, when I was walking around the house trying to find the music and where it was coming from, even out my front door, because I did have neighbors, even though I lived way back up in a holler, I couldn't find the music. So I laid back down and it got louder and I still didn't know what was going on at that time. I just thought, again, I had like a weird experience. So when I was 21 years old, I was pregnant with my third son, and my ex-husband and me was living on an Air Force base because he was in the Air Force. I started hearing my name being called at night. I started having bed shaking, and I started seeing things. One night I woke up and a huge spider was in my bed that really was not there. I would watch these little orb lights go from each corner of my room. And then when it would stop, the bed shaking would start to come in. And I thought something was wrong because I was pregnant. I thought, okay, there's hormone issues. Something is wrong. Well, about that same time, my middle child, Kanan, started experiencing things too, but I didn't see it. Like, it was so weird. Like, you don't really put two and two together. So started having these experiences. After I had Jonah, it settled down. Like, nothing happened. And Jonah was about 9 months old. He was in the bed with me with the boys, and something woke me up. I thought I was awake, by the way, which I'll get back and cover all this in a moment. But there was a man walking toward me, and it scared the ever-living shit out of me because I've never seen anything like that before. And the man was walking towards me, but he wasn't a man. He was a human-like figure. He was dressed like a human, but he was obviously like not from this dimension. And I know that's a little deep, and I probably sound like a weirdo right now, but that's okay.
Not on Necromancer.
Then that's okay because I'm cool about it. Because at that time, I was ready to sling out the Bible and put it underneath my pillow. Even though I wasn't religious and I always had these thoughts of questioning things, I started diving into research because at that time, my oldest and my middle one started telling me they was seeing this thing in the house. So I'm thinking, oh my God, our house is haunted. So it started at the Air Force base and it moved off base to this apartment that we were living in. The more I researched, which by the way, y'all going to get a kick out of this because I got on forums on Google, whatever I could find, paranormal forums, and every one of the people that replied to me told me that it sounded like it was demonic and I needed to get somebody in there to bless the house. And I knew in my gut, I was like, no, this is not demonic because it didn't see me. It didn't know I was there. So it didn't attack me, but it scared me because hell, it would scare anybody that sees something like that.
Right.
So the more I researched, the more I dove in and found more information. And it started with bed shaking. I couldn't help it. I'm like, I don't know what else to call it. It's bed shaking. So I finally found one little piece of someone else's experience, and I finally started putting two together, that I was having out-of-body experiences. And the bed shaking that I was experiencing is the body's energy settling. And skip till now, and this was back in 2006, so I've had plenty of time to do my research and have experiences. I've seen things. I've seen all kinds of things. Once I started to realize that I was not normal, I had people around me actually was telling me, all this different information. So I take everything with a grain of salt. Even though I think of myself as a intuitive healer, which means I'm psychic, I take everybody with a grain of salt, because not everybody is who they say they are, and their information's not always right. What seems to be always a teacher isn't so much of that. Sometimes these people don't know their head from their, they don't know. So they're given bad information. But anyway, I started a paranormal team because I was passionate about it. I thought, well, I've had all these experiences. I've done all this research. I want to help other people, to help them understand the paranormal, and also for myself. But little did I know that I would start opening up more. And I had people tell me that I had like a man with me, and I'm like, well, I don't see him. Ha ha ha. Even though I've had these experiences, I know I'm having these out-of-body experiences, but I didn't relate these experiences to being psychic. So at that point, I still didn't think I was psychic. I was like, I just had these weird experiences,
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I started meditating. It was the second time that I meditated that I just started breaking open. My hands started heating up, which then I dubbed the name Hot Hands Holly, But I didn't still realize what was going on, and I had people come into my life, and I always say, you always have teachers, you always have students, right? And we are always either or, and it led me into meditation and connecting with spirit and understanding who I was as a healer. And when people would come to me and say, Holly, I think you're a healer, I'm like, you're full of shit. I work with the dead people, okay? I'm not working with the living people. Screw that. But I enjoy it. It's who I am. But yeah, there's so much in between there.
Okay, but before we go any further, hold on. I'm actually hearing myself on your end. Do you have headphones?
Me?
Yes.
No.
I'm okay, because I'm actually hearing myself come through your speakers. Now it's stopped, so we should be good. Okay, because that's a bad listening experience for people.
Is that better?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, okay, we're good now. Okay. Mike Ricksecker, I believe he's Haunted Road Media. He's on the show. He wanted me to ask you real quick about Demon Holler, I think he said. So we have to address that real quick. But before we do, guys, if you have any questions for Holly, if you have any comments, we're going to get to you momentarily. We're going to shout out everybody that's watching, that's commented. But we'll ask Holly about Demon Holler real quick, and then we'll get to that.
So Demon Holler is a inside joke with Mike Ricksecker and all of us girls and people. So Demon Holler is just an inside story, a joke about certain experiences, and that, I can't talk about it.
Oh, he asked about it, so he wanted to see you cringe and choke on the show. Is that?
I know. Thank you, Mike. I love you.
All right. Well, if you can't talk about it, we'll go over to Jess and Derek. Let's do the shout outs, and we can read off any more questions or comments that pertain to our guest tonight.
Sure. We have Sam's in YouTube, Chris, Haunted Road Media, Mod Squad's Comedy, Haunted. Oh, nope. I already said that one. Bear with me.
Christy's on there.
Christy, Seizure, Scott, Chris, if I didn't say his name already. And that's about it for right now.
Sam's on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to share this broadcast. We'll be here until 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so we got a while. So bring all your friends in. We'd love to have you. Derek, is there anything going over there on Facebook?
No, we have one viewer.
Whoa. No Necromancer love on Facebook. Wow.
They ditched me for YouTube.
Whoa.
Oh, it was like that yesterday.
Now, did you shared the Facebook link around, right?
I did. I think I have to reshare it to a couple because I just got a notification from one that said that it's coming up attachment unavailable.
That's probably the reason why something's messed up.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't worry about it too much. All right.
Right.
Well, any comments or other questions on YouTube, Jess, that we can get to?
No.
No?
Nope.
All right. Well, if we have any questions that Holly could actually answer, let Jessica know, and we'll get back to you guys.
Actually, hold on, Justin.
Okay.
You know how Holly was saying about her singing
Mhm.
for the church, and you said you want to hear it. I will vouch for her. I have heard her on videos. She is amazing.
Really? Okay.
Aw.
I'm just throwing that out there. Okay.
All right.
You're so awesome. You're awesome. Music is actually a healing thing, so I've always loved music. So yeah,
All right, Holly. I got some questions for you.
bring it on.
It's only an hour show. I know you can talk with the best of them, but try to
Sorry.
that's okay. It's a talk show. Try to keep it short and simple, so I can ask you more stuff, so we can get to know you as good,
I'm
and
ready.
the viewers get to know you. Okay. In your bio, you tell about you've had some struggles with the Christian belief and the Bible Belt thing kind of clashing with your not only your omnis view of all religions, but your whole metaphysical side. Why don't you let some people know that may have abilities or have had the similar struggles? Let them know how you dealt with it, how you made it through all that.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, most of the people call me a witch, and I'm okay with that because a witch is a healer. If you are any person who actually knows information and cares to actually dive into research, that's what we are. A granny woman is a natural healer. That's what they call them here in the Appalachian Mountains. But for people who have psychic abilities or think that they do and are trying to deal with it, there's a difference between religion and there's a difference between spirituality. Most people, and I've heard this before, is they struggle with their religion and their psychic abilities because, in religion, it tells us different things. Spirituality is all about spiritual growth and about our being. So this is our vessel, our physical vessel. We are spiritual beings. So in return, we have spiritual experiences. We're not supposed to be subtle. We're not supposed to be sleepwalking. So, in reality, we're all psychic at some degree. I'm not saying that everybody can walk around and be like, whatever, but everybody is going through this process of spiritual growth. And part of that growth is understanding that religion is supposed to be a way to, I guess, keep people in line with their morals and things like that, but it's been took way out of context. And I'm not hating on religion because, like I said, everybody each their own, because ultimately we all believe in the same thing, a higher power. But for me, in this community, even Halloween, even like believing in Halloween at sometimes has been, I've had to pull out of a community center because I wanted to have a Halloween party. People look at me and I know they see me differently, but the thing about it is, I don't think anybody should hide who they are because we're all different. And people who don't like me honestly can keep walking because, I believe in treating people good, treating people like they want to be treated. You're either an asshole or you're not an asshole. So
just look past their personal beliefs and treat
yeah,
them like
your beliefs
a
are your
person.
beliefs. Strip it away. Strip it away. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole. It doesn't change anything.
Right on. I agree with that. Let's talk about what a granny woman is. Give us kind of like a short description, historical, thing. How the origins of them. Do you know much? I'm going to assume that you do. What's your research tell about granny women, rather?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So in the Appalachian Mountains and surrounding, and it's just not the Appalachian Mountains, these women actually come over from Europe and these other settlement countries. When we come in, we had no hospitals here. So everybody relied on these women. These women were herbalists, women who knew different crafts that help people heal. They were also the midwives. Now, I don't birth babies, okay? I don't go that far. That's back in the day. So we're talking new age. But these were the women that you went to and people still go to that they don't want to tell anybody about because they're embarrassed about it, or they don't want people to know that they go to them women for help. So, and it could be anything from little things like little wives' tales from taking a thrush from a baby or taking a moe away. It's little wives' tales like that held from granny women.
Cool, because I actually never heard the term until I read your bio. I'm like, wow, I get to learn something new tonight. That's awesome.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Is the community, are those people, is the community still a thing? Is it growing? Is it shrunk?
Listen, I live in a little small tiny town, and about everybody knows who I am in the whole county. And that's because, again, I don't really care what people think about me. If I cared, then I wouldn't be living in my life for who I am. So even at my job, I don't hide who I am. And people come up to me all the time and say, Holly, I got a headache. Take it away. So I get that all the time. And plus from Black Mountain Paranormal Society, which Josh was a part of, and it's still hanging out there somewhere, but we really don't do anything anymore with it because we've all got different paths, and that's cool. But yeah, it's just between the paranormal and who I am today, pretty much everybody knows who I am. And sometimes I don't realize that. And they'll come up to me and they'll go, hey, like, I see you've been traveling a lot. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, how do you know me?
That's interesting. We actually have a question on YouTube. I seen Mike asked a question again. Jess, do you want to go ahead and read that to her?
Sure. More serious question for Holly. What are her recommendations for someone looking to explore their psychic abilities? Where does someone get started?
Well, I'm actually, I guess a little spoiler. I'm slowly working on a book. The book's going to be based on helping people grow their psychic abilities and kind of tools. I call it the spiritual toolbox. With anybody, I think you should start with really learning how to ground, protect, and shield yourself, because that's number one in anybody's toolbox. If you don't, and you go into this openly and not knowing how to protect, ground, or shield yourself, then you're asking for anything. I've met mediums who will claim to be mediums who are under spiritual warfare because they're Christians and they don't believe in ground, protecting, and shielding. That makes no sense to me. Again, that's stupidity to me. So sorry. Yes. So the first steps is grounding, protecting, and shielding. Learn how to do that. Root yourself. Learn them 3 things. And meditation. Meditation is growth. And with meditation, you should always go into your sacred space. Most people think that, and everybody's different with meditation, by the way. However, I believe that if you're going in and trying to grow spiritually and psychically, you should do it from a sacred space. A sacred space is a space that we create within ourselves. And that might sound a little crazy, and that's okay, but people will get it. So when we go into meditation and we get past these barriers of, oh, I can't concentrate or all this, because trust me, I'm ADD, I know. But you really start to create this place of comfort, a place of element. And by that, I mean, this place ends up being your safe space. This it's unlike anything else. It's not going to be a physical location, because if we meditate towards a physical location in our minds, then we are pushing our energy out to that location. This has happened before with someone that I was, it was funny because he called me and he's like, Holly, I believe that I feel weird because I was meditating and I don't feel like I'm completely back inside of my body. Because what people don't realize is when you are in meditation, you are like pushing your spiritual self out, your soul body. And so I asked him where he was meditating at. And, you know, he was in his room, but he was pushing his energy out in his sacred space out into the middle of the woods in a physical place local where there was a bad plane crash and everything. And I'm like, what in the hell are you doing? You don't never do that, because think of it as pushing your energy out to a location where you are wide open. I know it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to some of you, but our soul bodies are part of our vessel. So, when we talk about death and things like that, our vessel's left there, but our soul body releases. So, in return of spirit. So, yeah.
So I'm trying to follow your perception of you're speaking about your metaphysical self, your inner self that is more in tune with spirit, more in tune with other, metaphysical properties in life. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of explaining almost kind of like what you do. You kind of project your energy out. And so are trying to layman's terms for our viewers. I know I've talked and interviewed a lot of remote viewers, and of course my mother is probably one of the most gifted people I've ever met, and she talks about similar things, how you kind of have to project an energy out there, but you leave yourself vulnerable too. And she always, is very, very adamant about trying to keep yourself safe, because people can affect you if they have ill intentions. So that leads into my next question. What type of spiritual warfare or what dangers is out there, to kind of follow up with Mike's question? When you get into these abilities, what do you need to do? Elaborate on what you need to do to protect.
So protection is all about your personal beliefs, to be honest with you. For me, I use my shield as a protection, because that's my spirituality. That's me pushing my energy out. I'm an energy person. But for someone else, it could be the cross. It could be whatever they put their intent behind. It could be a damn frog, okay? And you could be like, I believe this frog is going to protect me. And you put every belief system into that frog. Well, that frog's going to protect you, because guess what? You put intent behind it. Intent's a really big thing, people. Shielding, it is part of protection. Shielding is pushing this energy field outside of you. And if you practice, and it ain't like every day you have to practice this. Once you get it down, you don't have to do it anymore. You should have to take your shield down to read people. It really irks me that people walk around so openly and so willing, to be open. The only time that you will find me in public, like, so say for instance, work. I work in a call center, so I'm surrounded by people, like hundreds and hundreds of people. I talk to people every day. I keep myself shielded. People ask me, well, don't you get bombarded? No, I don't. And if I did, then I wouldn't be working right. This is not how it works. So shielding is all about pushing this energy field outside of your body. For me, I push it out from my heart chakra. Some people push it out from their solar plexus. And your heart chakra is right here. Your solar plexus right here above your belly button. So, just in case anyone wants to know, that's how it's done. Everybody's different. You don't have to do it like me. I'm not saying this is how it's supposed to be done. I'm saying these are ways to do it. As long as you have that intent behind it, that's all that matters.
Right. So intent, you could say it's your conscious, what you believe, what you put faith into.
Absolutely.
And that's a really interesting thing that people need to understand. And when you get kind of, you got dividers up, you've been brought up as a Christian or brought up as a Catholic or whatever. Once you start opening your mind, opening yourself up to, not any one religion is right. They're all right. They're all wrong. They're all right and wrong at the same time. It's the consciousness that drives everything. This reality, the spirit, everything. So I think that's a great thing, for people to understand starting off. And let's shift gears. Let's talk about some of your paranormal investigations. Let's talk about some encounters you've had with entities or other energies that are interesting for our viewers to learn about and hear about.
Right, sure, absolutely. When I talk about myself as a healer, and most people who are in tune with that side of themselves, see, there's another side of me as a healer. I deal with attachments, and I can deal with other things. And by other things, I mean negative. I don't believe in demonic entities. I'm sorry for anybody I offend out there, but I don't. You give things intent. You give things names. You give things their appearances. So, and that has a lot to do with it. For me, I'm the type of person who will walk into a building, and I will be just standing in the middle of the room, and this person beside me might feel like they're getting attacked, but me, I'm standing there like, what the hell's wrong with you? You know, I'm like, I'm good. But that's just, and like, that's a good example of how it is for me, because I have a way of dealing with negative energy, and negative energy doesn't like me in that way. So that's the way I deal with it. People who have attachments, which doesn't happen that often. I hate hearing people throw it around like it's just an everyday thing that everybody's walking around with this big old attachment, you know, and I believe that negative attracts negative. And when you live a bad lifestyle, when you have bad intentions, you bring in bad intentions. And it's all about raising your vibrations and living a positive life. So people who find themselves under attack more, I believe, are not properly protecting themselves. Either maybe they say they believe in that religion, but they're not putting their intent behind it, or they're not truly actually knowing how to properly shield and ground themselves.
So when it comes to a particular investigation that either happened recently or that you remember that stands out, involving what you're talking about, can you think of any?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to mention any names because it's kind of personal, and it was pretty intense. On my personal experiences at home with my out-of-body experiences, I've seen little imp creatures, by the way. They're freaky looking. I've seen them multiple times. And it's weird because they just observe and they just look at you. That's dealing with the planes of existence, which I could go on forever about that. But anyway, so we was recently at an event a few months ago, and this particular person kind of got hijacked. And I say hijacked, some people say possessed, whatever you want to call it. But they was hijacked, and it was a really intense moment. There's a lot of details surrounding it, but I'll just cover what I went through. So, you know, we was in this room with this person. It was kind of like this board talk. So everybody was at this round table, and I kept watching this girl across the room, and she kept just dazing, like she was just looking off intently, and like she wasn't blinking, she wasn't doing anything. And I'm looking at her, and I'm feeling this energy. The thing about me is I can feel negative energy from a mile away, but I always try to take care of it. But as soon as I seen her, I was trying to motion the girls around her, because I had Rhonda and Misty and everybody sitting around her, and I'm sitting there trying to signal for them to look at her, to help her, to, you know, ask her if she's okay. So the ladies beside her realize that there's something wrong, and they write on a piece of paper and slide it to her and ask her if she's okay. And she wrote on the piece of paper, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just focusing off and just looking off." I'm like, bullshit. I'm sitting over here. I didn't know that was going on at the time, but I'm sitting there like, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Well, they ask her if she wants to get up and go out some fresh air, get some fresh air. And all this time, I didn't know that they was having that conversation, because in the moment they was still having this talk. So I was just focused on them. Well, they get her up to go take her outside, and she hits the floor. And as soon as she does, the two girls beside her, she grabs my friend by the arm, and she squeezes her very, very hard, like very, very hard, and so bad that she was like, "Fuck this, I'm gone," you know. But they ended up, her eyes were not hers. I will say that. And I'm not. This is the first time I've seen something like this, by the way. So it was pretty profound to see it. But my first instinct was to hop up and run to her. And as soon as I hopped up and ran to her, and they had her on the floor, and they had her arms back because she was growling, my first instinct was to look her in the eyes. And it gives me the chills just thinking about it, because I can remember it. I mean, it's just something that I always remember. But my first instinct is to go over toward her, look him in the eyes, because it was a him. Some people have attachments. Sometimes they get took over by these attachments. Not necessarily a demonic entity, but, you know, once maybe living spirit, because it does happen. And it was pretty extreme. So I went in with a bunch of very, very good friends, and we helped her out, pulled off some energy from her, and helped her. But it was very intense.
So can you elaborate on what you did to remedy the situation?
Absolutely. So when we're pulling energy off somebody, you're using your healing energy to pull. So not only that, we connect with our higher selves, and we call in on guides. So we're pulling that negative energy out and pushing it down. For me personally, and everybody that was surrounding her works differently. We had a shaman and there was me. I always pull energy, bad energy out, and I push it down to Mother Earth, because Mother Earth's all healing, all converting. So she takes care of that energy for me. So anytime that I deal with anything negative, I push it down.
Interesting. I want to rewind back a little bit before you mentioned the imp entities that kind of like lurk.
Yeah.
One of my very first and profound experiences, I believe, was this entity, and I want to share this real quick with you and see if you have any insight with this real quick. I was living with my son's mother at the time, years ago, before I got married, and her brother had a house, and we're all like roommates, and I'm in a guest room, and all of a sudden, something extremely powerful, like staring sensation, nothing I've ever experienced before, just starts staring, and it intently stares. And then I start hearing a weird buzzing sound I couldn't find the source of, but it was so intense it wouldn't let me sleep. I would drive hours to my mother's house just so I could go to bed. Well, eventually I got tired of it, so I went to my mother's house, which is like 30 minutes away, to escape this thing. Well, it was attached, according to this other shaman, it was attached to a photo that we took of the person who we were living with, and it wrote along the photo. And it started staring at my son's mother while I was in the den watching TV. So she swears up and down someone's staring at her out the window of the bedroom. I go out there, of course, nothing's there. The second night, the same exact time, I pop on the light when she tells me something's staring, and I see this energy anomaly. Okay, it looks like you're looking through wavy water with light going through it, and it's got like a static aura around it, and it's kind of moving like this, and still. And I'm like, whoa, I'm seeing that. And all of a sudden, these orbs of light that you mentioned before, my mother says that kind of like nature beings that protect the land where we live, come flying in. And I thought she was nuts to this point. So now I'm thinking, I took the acid my mother took. Now I'm seeing this shit too. And they swirl around the room, and they kind of neutralize this thing. And then all of a sudden, its intent changed. It was now benign and friendly, and it kind of moved around, and it did weird things, like it peeked out from the corner of the doorway, and I followed it, and it went into my mom's room, and it let me walk into it, and it was like really a cool, hot, at the same time feeling, and then it just dissipated. But this lasted for like 10 minutes, and it was like, whoa, people are going to think I'm crazy, but she, the kid's mom was right there. So does this sound familiar? Does this sound like what you were talking about?
Absolutely. And people don't realize, and people, this is the thing. I do want to mention this because actually over this past weekend, I was at an event, and there was a team there that were making fun of a certain individual because we were talking about interdimensional beings. I'm sorry. If you're in the paranormal field and you're purely scientific, there's something wrong with you. Then you don't need to be in the field, because obviously it's not been proven that this exists. You have to teeter on the edge. You always have to teeter on the edge of spirituality or spiritual. You have to have open minds. We all know this. But they were making fun of the whole interdimensional dimensions. But you know what? As a person who, I think I've got a good damn head on my shoulder, and I'm a good person, and I'm not crazy. I'm not on medication. I've seen this shit. I've experienced this. So many other people have too. They're afraid to talk about it. Yes, I believe that they are. It's funny because I believe in the planes, and it makes sense to me because the more that I've experienced, the more I see it. The lower you go, the uglier things are. Doesn't mean they're negative, but it means that they're on a different type of vibrational plane than we are. They're not going to look the same. I mean, it's just the way it is. So the higher we go, the opposite is going to be positive, and they still might look different. So think of it as heaven, hell as biblical terms. So you're thinking higher vibration, lower vibration. So again, different types of religions, whatever, but the same kind of belief, except I took out religion, right? So we're talking about energy and planes of existence. So sometimes these planes actually get thin enough or close enough to us where we can experience these types of things, and they can cross over, they can interact with us. And that's the same thing with these little creatures. The reason that I saw them was because my physical body was out. So sleep paralysis, everybody, you can't move, the old hack syndrome, same damn thing. Your physical body is sleeping. It's unconscious, but our conscious is still awake, right? So what happens is our energy settles in our body and we start to lift up. And this is the physical plane, the things that we can touch, the things that we can see. Think of it this way. When we get out and break that, we can see things that we cannot comprehend inside this body. We are held down by this body. So it's amazing the things that you see, the things that you do, because it happens not only with them types of experiences, but in dreams as well. Dreams, by the way. Yeah, there's brain dump dreams. I get that. You know, I'm naked in front of a crowd. That means something more emotional, that I'm vulnerable, that, you know, there's something going on in my life, right? But if you have a dream that you know you have to remember for whatever reason and it comes true the next day, yeah, that's a little different. So it's a whole world in itself, and I could go on all night about it.
Yes. I'm right there with you. I agree a lot. There was a question. Jess, do you want to, ask the question? I've seen someone on YouTube. Okay.
Caesar asks, what do you think is a negative entity or energy?
Oh, good question.
Absolutely.
So there are different types. This is the thing. They are human people that pass away and become shitty spirits. That does happen. We all know that. But there's also these beings that do not exist in the physical plane, that were never human, that take on the forms of things. And I think this is energy that people give intent to. When we talk about demonic entities and things like that and give these things names, you're feeding into that energy. And I think that things that we do in our life feed into that energy as well. When you are messing with things that you don't understand as well, I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are doing things that they don't quite understand. So they find themselves in the predicament of dealing with these different entities. I believe in elementals. Elementals are what they are. If you think that you can contain an elemental, you're full of shit. Elementals are bound to the earth, and
tell us how you really feel.
Sorry, this is all personal experience. I've seen people try. Listen, you have no clue.
I'm just giving you shit. Go ahead.
Oh, I know you are. So, but anyway, like elementals, for instance, we've dealt with elementals where he seemed to be like, anytime the girls would see him, it was like they were scared of him. They made them scared. But then the next time it would be like, oh, he's good. But this is the thing. Things like that are protective, especially elementals, or, you know, and when they're protective, of course, they're going to scare the hell out of you. We're not used to seeing things like that. So when we do, we're automatically scared because that shit don't exist.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it does.
Well, I had to learn that a little later in life. Like, I wasn't like, you know, a young child and seeing these things fly around, and I wasn't friends with them. I had to be like introduced to them by my mother. Like, my mother is like from another universe, okay, compared to where I'm from. Yeah, I mean, everyone says that. But I grew up with, you know, her telling me these stories and the experiences, and eventually I was just like, okay, I give up. You know, it's real, and I've had to have the experiences to kind of hit it home. And,
absolutely.
And it seems like you kind of went through the similar thing, or the similar process where your rational mind is trying to, you know, impede on your spiritual growth, your spiritual awakening and your perception.
Yeah.
It's interesting that people can go through their whole life and just keep pushing it away and pushing it away. And then when they finally take their last breath and they're taking that plunge and they're self-evaluating and all this stuff's coming in, they're like, oh no, what did I do? Can that cause a lot of these spirits and entities that you're talking about have kind of like a bad lingering afterlife? You know, they're walking around with really weird vibration and energy. They didn't cross correctly. They're not, you know, the process of, you know, their passing is in turmoil. Do you think a lot of that is what's going on?
I believe that as far as the spirits go, I've dealt a lot with the etheric plane, which is weird. I've actually helped loved ones connect with their loved ones that's crossed over. And to me, this is my personal belief. You don't have to go with it, but now people who have had turmoil in their life and they still have things to hold on to, they do want to deliver messages and things like that. Do I believe that when you cross the spirit over that they're just gone, they ain't never coming back? That's horseshit. So no, they can come back when they want to. They can come and go as they want to. Are they very insistent on getting their message across? Yes, they are, because they need that. Not only do they need that, but the person who hears it needs to hear that. And as far as the spirits that go around and come and really kind of affect other people, yes, them, the negative people. Say for instance, you have a serial killer and they're he's still going around in his form of ghostly appearance and fucking with people. Yeah, I believe that happens, but I also believe that them type of people may even teeter on the side of that dark energy. I've seen people with attachments before, and I've seen people be oppressed. I've seen people have these attachments a long, very, very long time. I dealt with this boy. He was 17 years old. He had this attachment on him since he was like little. And he didn't want to come out and tell me. I picked up on everything, and I was trying to tell him, hey, I know what this looks like. I know what you're going through. And when I removed this from him, he did not like it at all. He felt very lost. So some of these people don't even realize how long they carry energy like that. So it can affect their lives. I mean, when we go deep down that rabbit hole, we could speak forever about how these entities just feed and drugs, people with alcohol addiction, drug addiction, different kinds of mental disorders, things like that. This is what these feed off of. If you go into a nursing home, especially too, that's like a breeding ground for these different types of entities. It's just like walking into, I don't know, it's very weird. It's like watching a horror movie. Even in the hospitals.
Yeah, that's why a lot of paranormal researchers and field investigators go to places like that, because it's still, full of that energy. That's what they're searching for. And that's, they want to know if that's a recipe for a haunting and, phenomena to occur. So.
Yeah. My thing is, Justin, and to everybody out there, is after years of researching the paranormal and finding the paranormal within myself, maybe you should look within yourself, because it doesn't matter how long you search for the paranormal and investigate the paranormal. Your own personal experiences is going to make or break you, and that is what is going to make you believe. And just because someone can't see that or experience that for themselves, there's tons of other people that have awakened and know exactly what you're going through. So that's the bottom line there, because anybody who has been drawn to the paranormal has been drawn for a reason. I have no doubt in that. It's either they're 80% of them's jackasses and they just want to make money, or, do their famous thing. And then there's 20% of people who are actually legitimately in this for the research of it. And because they've had some profound experience in their life, or want to have an experience because they know they're different. They know there's more to life. They know there's more out there.
Yeah, well, before we end this tonight, you mentioned that there's a lot of people out there that are skeptical and they cling to some type of materialistic science, way to view reality. My research has suggested otherwise. Like, the cutting edge of theoretical physics and science suggests that there are other planes and realities and dimensions out there. The problem is we cannot prove it yet, and that's where the paranormal falls outside the realm of scientific understanding. It doesn't mean that it can't be proven with science. It just means we don't know how to yet. And that's what I've been trying to do, is try to find some intersection between how science can do it. And with this, string theory, emergence theory, even quantum field theory, it talks about a lot of the same stuff you're talking about, like the force carrying particles. All of those are separate fields of vibration. Right. So if you look at field theory, quantum field theory, it sounds exactly like the crap you're saying.
Right. And you know what? And you know what's weird about it is that is things that people have found out through science. Honey, I'm a smart person. I've got a lot of damn common sense, but I do not read books. And I don't watch. I didn't know this. This was given to me. This is my own personal experiences. And you line a bunch of people up who've had the same experience. They had the same story. It's slightly different for each person, but it makes sense. Take these people and work with those. and see. But, ultimately what I'm saying is if people are going to the paranormal and they're saying, well, I'm strictly scientific and I'm going to break the code, that's cool. But what I'm saying is there's something going on over here with these people that you need to look at, maybe work with those people too.
Yeah, that's right. That's good that you say that, because you said the teeter, which is a good way to explain what you should do. You should sit on that fence between the metaphysical and the physical. And
absolutely.
Both sides of the fence have something useful and to offer, but just don't stay on one or the other, because
I've got to say something real quick. I've been wanting to say this the whole feed. Somebody's left knee is pretty messed up. It's pretty achy. Who is it? Raise your hand.
Well, my left knee is okay. Everything else hurts, though. I'm just joking.
So it's you?
Yes, that's me. That's the one I had surgery on years ago, that it gives me problems with all this weather that's going on.
Okay. Yeah, I'm picking up that very strongly. Sorry.
No one picks on stuff. No one picks up on my stuff. I'm jealous.
That's because nobody likes you, Justin.
I don't have any problems. I'm just perfect. Is that what it is?
Well, yeah.
Okay, that's a bunch of bullshit. But okay, sorry.
We're winding down. We got 5 minutes left of the show. Holly, you're more than welcome to stay on the call if you want to after we end this. We do some video promotions. What can you lead people to as far as social media, websites, YouTube channels? How can people follow what you do? Lead them where you want to lead them. I have your Facebook and Instagram and the cards in the description, but go ahead and plug.
Yeah, you have everything out there. I do have a website. It's through Wixsite. It's because I'm poor and I can't afford a big fancy website on my own. But that's cool too. I do some awesome blogs I haven't done in a while. To be honest, I live a very busy life. I'm part of the Southern Gypsies. We're always traveling. We actually have a lot going on for next year too. So it's hard for me to kind of step out from the Southern Gypsies and be on my own. But I'm very passionate, and this is what I am as part of the Southern Gypsies. I'm an intuitive healer. So, yeah, you can catch me on Facebook and friend me. My friends are about maxed out, so you might want to hurry.
Well, maybe you need to start just like a blog page or a public profile page so people just...
Well, I have one, yeah. It's Intuitive Healer Holly Mullins. I never update it, though. I'm going to be honest, because I live such a busy life. I really do. I never get to hang out with my friends. I never get to talk to anybody. So this is cool to be able to actually talk and let loose. And then I'm in the process of writing that book, and I can't wait to get that finished.
Yes, that's exciting. That's really cool. I'm glad to hear that you're doing something that you can publish and put out there.
Thank you. I'm very passionate about it. Spirit has been awesome in this. And, something I want to end this with is a little quote, and it's from one of my favorite movies. It's from Beautiful Creatures. It's not God who chooses what's wrong and right. It's men.
I like that. No offense, right?
No offense, but it's true.
I like the quote. I like the quote. We personify and we project things like you said. We create our own demons and devils and angels and gods. And
absolutely, we do.
The sooner we realize as a collective, the better off we'll be, right?
Yes, absolutely. You got it.
All right. Okay, guys. Go ahead. You can hang on the chat. I'm going to go ahead and do my my links, and we'll talk about Patreon. But hang in there, guys. All right. There you go, guys. Holly Mullins. She is a really, really interesting person. Okay, I want you to learn from Holly. Go over there on Facebook, send her a friend request if there's room. If not, you can check out her intuitive healing page. I'm sure she can direct you to some links. If you want to learn more, message her, email her. She's going to respond to you sooner or later. So, you guys have been great. Thanks for tuning in every single week. It's really cool that we have established this paranormal community. Each and every week, I am excited to see you guys logging in and watching the show and learning about these people I have on each and every week. It's really, really cool. If you are a first-time viewer, you can check out the paranormal work that I do with my team at interfacedeath.net.com, whichever you want to type in. Subscribe to the mailing list, get all of our newsletters, get all of our updates. That's the best way. We're on every social media platform. Okay, we'll go to the links here. Okay. Patreon is a way that you can support this content, make sure it stays here and doesn't go anywhere and gets better. Patreon is a crowdsourcing funding type website to where you can pledge $1 a month or more and get rewards for it. Okay. You get exclusive content, you get access to promo codes to our merchandise, you get invited to all these things, you get stuff galore. So check that out. Facebook.com/Necromancer Live Show. You can keep up to date with this show specifically, or you can check us out on Interface Death on YouTube as well. We have Interface Death on Twitter and Instagram if you would like to follow us there. Our patrons, they support and make sure this content stays. All these names you see on the screen is what makes this possible and what keeps it going. Christy Brown, Clay Borman, Matthew Jackson, Matt Benton, Bill Davis, Gwendolyn Guthrie, Landon Wells, Jessica Bias, RJ Murphy, Liz Coy, Danette Goldtrip, and Scotty Fox. Some of these guys have been pledging for over a year. Some of these just have shelled out an insane amount of money just to make sure this content stays and grows and gets better. Okay, so if you like what you see, you want to be a part of it, check us out on patreon.com rather. So there you goes, guys. I'm going to leave it there. We're going to be at the Mothman Festival. No Fear Scarefest this year. We're going to go to the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant, West Virginia with the Interface Death Group. We're going to have a lot of fun and kick back, have some dinner, and check out some really cool history and cryptozoological stuff this weekend. Next weekend, we got the Ghost Walk in Chillicothe, and then the world largest ghost hunt on September 29th. If you want to investigate with us at the old Blackford County Jail in Hartford City, Indiana, there are tickets on sale right now. So go over to the Facebook page at Interface Death, click on the events, and you will see the link right there in the event to purchase a ticket. If you have trouble with doing that, just message me. Email me at justinbrown@interfacedeath.net. We'll get you taken care of. But until then, next week, Tuesday and Wednesday every week, we do the My Paranormal Soapbox and the Necromancer Show. I think we have Joe Vitale next week. All right. Some of you may know Joe. Some of you may want to get to know Joe. But we'll have him on Necromancer next week. You guys have a great evening. You are in my heart. I love you guys. And we'll see you next time. Stick around for the video promotions if you have not seen them yet. I bid you farewell. You guys have a good one.
What was that?
I don't know. I feel like I can't breathe in this room.
Generally, Justin, when you guys investigate, do you just take long pauses and wait to see if you hear things and observe everything that's going on?
It depends on the location and our experience with the location. So in this case, at Waverly Hills, since we've been here before, we've heard a lot of stories, done a lot of research, and investigated, we typically like to listen a lot because we hear the coughing